While we have no official word yet on whether Netflix will renew Wednesday Season 2, something tells me it's a safe bet. Season 1 of Wednesday was extremely successful, and the fact that it concluded with an open-ended cliffhanger leads me to believe that Season 2 is definitely in the works, despite Netflix's silence. So stay tuned and don't go away, because Jenna Ortega reveals the weird Wednesday mannerism you can't unsee. Plus, did Jenna Ortega really not blink at all in Wednesday? First up, what is the weird Wednesday mannerism you can't unsee? If you blink, you might miss it. Wednesday's Jenna Ortega recently revealed a quirk that she incorporated into her portrayal of Wednesday Addams, the iconic character that we all know, and both fear and love. However, the gesture is so subtle that if you blink, you might miss it. During an interview with Teen Vogue, Ortega opened up about playing the creepy character who was famously brought to life by film star Christina Ricci back in the 90s. While speaking with Teen Vogue, Ortega said, "At some point during the first couple of weeks of shooting, I did a take where I did not blink at all, and Tim Burton said, 'I don't want you to blink anymore.'" According to Ortega, Burton loves weird mannerisms, so they decided to try and incorporate a number of little quirks and quarks. Ortega further explained, "Tim really liked the Kubrick stare, where I stared through my eyebrows. It's a bit intimidating. Clearly, it struck something with him, and I trust his opinion so much because he's Tim Burton." Wednesday hit Netflix on November 23rd and achieved the biggest opening week for an English-language series in the history of Netflix, even beating the previous record set by the international streaming sensation Stranger Things. It's the very first time that Ortega has ever teamed up with legendary Gothic fantasy director Tim Burton, and she's mostly known for her work on the Disney Channel, Netflix's You, and the tragic 2021 drama The Fallout. Next up, what else sets Jenna Ortega's portrayal of Wednesday apart from past versions? We're about to find out. Ortega's version of Wednesday marks the first time the character has never blinked, which speaks to Ortega's overall understanding of the character. Not surprisingly, Ortega has admitted to feeling overwhelmed by the big shoes she's had to fill in taking on such an iconic character, and throughout the process, she's carried a great deal of pressure. Film star Christina Ricci's portrayal of Wednesday is just as dark as Ortega's, but the newest rendition of Wednesday shows a young woman who has a sense of humor that's much more self-aware and caters to Gen Z audiences. Another thing that sets Ortega's version of Wednesday apart from Ricci's is that she's no longer crowded by other members of the Addams family who understand her unusual cryptic personality. Putting Wednesday in a completely new environment was by far the best way to establish her as a protagonist, wanting to be accepted by those around her who seem so different. Ortega has managed to keep the core aspects of Wednesday intact, while adding a modern spin to the character for today's audiences. So, what do you think of Jenna Ortega's portrayal of Wednesday? Personally, watching Ortega play Wednesday took some getting used to, but after a few episodes, Ortega's performance did start to grow on me, and by the end of the season, I felt that she had totally nailed the part. But right now, we'd love to know your thoughts. Up next, what are Tim Burton's top 10 films? Let's take a look. Coming in at number 10 is 1999's Sleepy Hollow. Based on a collection of Gothic essays titled The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by American author Washington Irving, screenwriter Andrew Kevin Walker wrote the screenplay for one of Burton's most memorable films. Starring Johnny Depp, Christina Ricci, Miranda Richardson, Michael Gambon, Casper Van Dien, Jeffrey Jones, and Christopher Walken, Sleepy Hollow is a chilling horror story that's seriously spooky. Megastar Johnny Depp plays protagonist Ichabod Crane, who's transformed from a mild-mannered schoolteacher into an eccentric New York City police detective. Crane's superiors send him to a sleepy town, ironically named Sleepy Hollow, to investigate a series of gruesome decapitations. But what makes the story even more macabre is that the heads were never found. We come to learn that the victims were hunted down by the Headless Horseman, an evil ghoul played by one of the all-around coolest guys in Hollywood, Christopher Walken. Rick Heinrich's Oscar-winning art direction and Emmanuel Lubezki's dark and gloomy cinematography create an ominous world unlike anything we've seen on screen before. If you're a fan of fantasy horror films and haven't seen Sleepy Hollow already, do yourself a favor and watch it. Stay tuned and don't go away as we make our way up the rankings of the top 10 Tim Burton movies of all time. Next up, are you ready to catch a glimpse inside the gifted mind of Tim Burton? Let's take a look. Coming in at number 9 is 2003's Big Fish. Brilliant screenwriter John August adapted the screenplay from a novel written by Daniel Wallace. Big Fish stars Ewan McGregor, Albert Finney, Billy Crudup, Jessica Lange, Lang, Helena Bonham Carter, Alison Lohman, Robert Guillaume, Marion Cotillard, Steve Buscemi, and Danny DeVito. Big Fish tells the story of a young man, played by Crudup, who returns to his Alabama home to be with his sick father, played by Finney, a former traveling salesman with a knack for telling tall tales. As his son attempts to uncover the truth behind his dad's life, the dying man recounts his youth's adventures, ranging from joining the circus, meeting a witch, and becoming friends with a giant. Thanks to the plot, Burton is able to let his imagination go into hyperdrive and run wild, while simultaneously tugging on our heartstrings. Coming in at number 8 is 2007's Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street. Based on the musical by Stephen Sondheim and Hugh Wheeler, Sweeney Todd stars Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, Alan Rickman, Timothy Spall, and Sacha Baron Cohen. John Logan wrote the screenplay, which couldn't have been easy considering the gruesome subject matter and the film's complex lyrical sequences. Directing Sweeney Todd would have been a serious challenge for any filmmaker, but hiring a genius such as Burton, the studio knew the project would be in trusted hands. Depp plays Benjamin Barker, a barber who murders his customers with a straight razor and helps his landlady, Mrs. Lovett, turn them into meat pies. Up next, which film was Tim Burton's loving tribute to cheesy sci-fi films? You're about to find out. Coming in at number 7 is 1996's Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks was simply Burton having a ton of fun. The film was his homage to sci-fi films that were super cheesy. Believe it or not, the film is actually based on a popular trading card series that explores what would happen if a fleet of aliens decided to visit Earth. As you can imagine, it's not good. Screen icon and One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest star Jack Nicholson played a dual role as the US president and a casino owner, and Burton used his creative muscle to come up with unique ways for the aliens to pick the humans off one by one. Many people view Mars Attacks as an essentially silly film. However, no one can deny that it's boatloads of fun. Coming in at number 6 is 1985's Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Burton made his feature directing debut with his big screen adaptation of the popular Pee Wee Herman character. When the eccentric man-child's beloved red bike is stolen in broad daylight, he sets out across the US to find it, which leads to the adventure of a lifetime. Burton displays his talent for creating unique worlds inhabited by lovable loners, much like he did with Edward Scissorhands. The film would also mark the first time that Danny Elfman and Burton worked together. Next up, what are Tim Burton's top 5 films? Let's take a look. In the interest of saving time, we've compressed our top 5 list. Coming in at number 5 is 1989's Batman. Michael Keaton plays Bruce Wayne, a billionaire vigilante who dons a black mask to fight crime, and Jack Nicholson gives a 5-star performance as the Joker. 1989's Batman paved the way for Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, and it turned the Caped Crusader into a global phenomenon. Coming in at number 4 is 1988's Beetlejuice. Alec Baldwin and Geena Davis played a young married couple who are killed in a freak accident, and they return as ghosts only to find a new family living in their home. Desperate to kick them out, they enlist a demon named Beetlejuice, played by Keaton, to scare them off. The movie became an instant classic. Coming in at number 3 is 1990's Edward Scissorhands. Burton loves oddball loners, and Johnny Depp was perfect for the role of an abandoned boy, discarded in a gothic tower. Danny Elfman provided the film's score, and it remains one of Burton's most creative and poignant films. Coming in at number 2 is 1992's Batman Returns. The film is one of the strangest blockbusters ever produced, but at the same time, it's largely considered to be an undisputed Burton masterpiece. Part 2 sees Keaton's Batman battling two crazy oddballs, the Penguin and Catwoman, who threaten to terrorize Gotham City during the holiday season. Finally, what is the number 1 Tim Burton film of all time? 1994's Ed Wood. Johnny Depp stars as Edward D. Wood Jr., a famous transvestite and troubled film director. Burton creates a moving tribute to Wood's passion and enthusiasm. For many cinephiles, Ed Wood will always be Burton's absolute best work. That's a wrap for today's video. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our channel.